Unmuted. Hello.
Hi, everybody. How you doing?
How's everybody doing?
We're
Uh
back from our summer break.
yeah. Woo. July was a break for most people in this yeah. So I honestly should have wrote down like a process for this sort of saying since we're just gonna be catching up, but like we'll just have it as like a normal conversation. I think that's the best way of going about it.
Yes,
Uh
we're just coming back from the summer break. Let's just take a chill approach to the first one and talk about what were we up to.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started with one or the things that might be the most noticeable on my end. My camera is a little bit crisper and a little bit better, and you'll may
Mhm.
know that there's not as much weird lighting effects going on my side. That's because I got a new camera. And my audio quality is a lot better, and that's because I got a new mic, an actual mic that's not part of my headset. Um, I even have like a nice little thing to block out vibrations. Had to do some weird stuff because I got a fan going on because I'm in an actual room I cleaned up for to be my streaming recording room. But like it's hot because our entire air conditioning unit has gone kaputski. We'd have to get a brand new one, and that's over $1,000. That's over like $2,000 because that's an entire air unit, not
Yeah.
just something to put in the wall or something. So it's rough. But anyways, how are you guys
Yeah.
doing? We'll just unless you have any questions.
Well, I'm doing good. Been working on some Ishanekon stuff during the
Mhm.
break. To be honest, at the start of the break, I didn't have that much motivation. Was kind of a low, just going with the flow. But in the last 2 weeks, I have been working on quite a few things, and
Nice,
hope that the momentum keeps on going.
nice.
And you, Eternal.
Um, actually found someone local that actually just needs a lot of random stuff done in the renovation remodeling field, and I still know all that.
Yeah.
So working doing that. Not hoping it's more 2 foot little crawl spaces under houses to do plumbing. That
Yeah.
was good for 2 days. I'm done.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
Mainly we've been keeping up with the play testing of the system, and at this point I have to admit I didn't actually think it was going to do as well. I thought I
Mhm.
was being kind of pressured into play testing early. I didn't want to do it. Like, we have literally one marshal and one technician.
Sure.
that's
Sure.
that's all we have.
Mhm.
uh, but they are all the way up to max level test ability, so we're running it. And I think the coolest thing we've noticed, which shifted all of our game plans,
Mhm.
was a expected, because of 5e, 30-minute combat.
Mhm.
Took 5 minutes, with about 2 minutes of that being discussing the rules and reminding them, hey, this is how you use that or that.
Sure. Yeah.
So it dramatically decreased the time limits. We did a boss battle where it came out exactly as intended.
Nice.
And so I said, forget it. We're just going to start running Curse of Strahd.
Mm.
We're now done with session 2 yesterday, and
Okay.
it's working great.
Awesome.
That's
Yeah.
been the main thing that's been going on.
That actually is a really good point. For every person getting into game design, is playtest early and playtest often,
Hmm.
because that
Yes.
can entirely change your game plan. Because like you may notice, maybe your game isn't as efficient as you thought it was, and well, you'll need to go back to the books, or maybe you go, well, this wasn't a main focus. I feel like this thing that happened was really cool, so I want to develop towards that thing. And that just is what will happen during playtests. So the mantra is playtest often, playtest quickly.
It has created a moment that now for advertisement will always be told. Like, So the guy playing the combatant, or 5e styled fighter, he's backed behind a statue to hide and get out of this. But the other dude's climbing up the rope to go at the rogue character. And he goes, "Wait, can I attack the rope with the reaction system?" I said, "Yes, actually, as a reaction, you can do that." So he cuts the rope, and this guy falls like 4 or 5 feet, and then he starts pummeling him with those Japanese tiles in the roof. And I'm just like, this is amazing. This is a thing now.
Right. Yeah. That sounds amazing. I'm really happy for you.
Yeah, with Ishanekon World Shape has also started extremely early with playtesting. I only had like the level 1 figured out of like 2 or 3 sub archetypes that I still made a playtest just to see if the core mechanics are good. That's something I learned from watching YouTube videos about video game development, where they always said like, try to playtest it as early as possible. Like that's your highest priority.
Yeah.
Because if the core is not fun, it doesn't matter how much fancy stuff you build around it. It will never be fun.
Actually, that's a good thing you brought up, like video game development, just because like in the one thing that they do, I kind of like laugh. I dabble in not just paper, but also video game development. I have done video game development as well. But one of the things that they encourage, especially noobs, to video game development, is to, when you're doing your, like, before you even start like making your MVP, with minimum viable product, before you start making that, right? Imagine in that case, just for a quick thing for anyone who doesn't know what I mean by MVP, think of like a snippet of a game like Mario World 1-1, right? Just that. It just kind of teaches you the base core and whatnot, and it's the thing you would show somebody to like be like, hey, this is my game idea, but it's also like a sanity check of, is the game fun? But the thing that they teach like beginners is like, even take that concept a step backwards, right? And like, before you make that MVP, make a paper version of your game, right? Where you're like, so in Mario, you would literally just take a little Mario Man slip of paper, slide it along, and do any actions you would as though you was playing an actual video game, and just testing out the core mechanics, so you can kind of get a good feel. Mario's probably a bad example, but it still works with Mario, and it works especially if you're gonna like have UI. Honestly, if your video game has UI at all, storyboard it, do a paper version, just because that will help wrap your head around those things. But yeah, playtest early, playtest often.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think it might be for just some like weird thing. I could kind of see us kind of going back in time at the start of July and just like talk about the different things we did going forward through. Like, I know honestly the first bit of my July wasn't really much of a vacation, because I was focused so much on prepping my real world job, because I was going to be gone for a week, and they wanted to make sure that they squeezed every hour of that they could before I was gone, because I was planning on going to West Virginia for a break. And I
did. Your birthday, right?
Yes, it was for my birthday. Well, it was partly for my birthday, partly because my wife's aunt lives in West Virginia, and we was going to visit her, and mostly because of wife's mother was encouraging us to do so and whatnot, and also going with us. It was just a thing. I wanted to see the waterfalls anyways. I've not really seen waterfalls. I've actually not really been outside of my hometown very much, which is kind of funny now, considering that I live now an hour away from my hometown, which isn't much, but it's different enough when it comes to like even culture is different out here a little bit, and even though it's just an hour. But yeah, it was really interesting. It was really nice. I did share some of the pictures on social medias, on my Ko-fi specifically, and my Discord, my personal Discord. Um, my Ko-fi wanted to rotate the images, and I just said, fine, you do what you want and just make them look weird. The waterfalls are laying on their sides or whatever. Like, okay, that's fine. But I do have some that was like really awesome images. So I might actually, if I remember, I might post them in our the T3N Discord as well. So
Sure.
what about you guys? What was like the experience for the first like week or 2 weeks of July? Anything interesting at that point that is noteworthy?
First of all my tabletop RPGs group were like, I'm not going to have time the next month, and my whole
Ooh,
tabletop RPG content just plummeted.
ooh, that
Just sitting there.
stings.
It's true. What to do now? Hmm.
Yeah, I actually really hate when that happens because like, well, it just hurts, right? Like you're like, well, now I don't got much to do, especially if you don't have a new shiny video game to play or something while you're waiting, and you're like, oh, beans.
Well, I got Ishanekon to work on, right? So it's not
That's
like
true.
there was nothing.
That's true.
But also I not quite sure if it was before the break started or not, but Jungle Nick interviewed me for Ishanekon World Shapers in those early phases of the break, or before that,
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure. That was fun, and started also talking to him. He's developing his own game, Rogue Octopus, which I got to play test, I think, a bit more than 1 week ago.
Oh,
It's a funny concept. You play as a group of octopuses that try to escape from a man-made structure, be it a lab, a zoo, a restaurant. And it's
okay.
not 100% serious. In my playtest, we were trying to escape the zoo. We ended up in the seal tank, almost got eaten. But my octopus made a daring attempt to buy the other's time, jumping to the seal. Rolled a natural 1 on that one. What? Already 2 of my tentacles were being eaten, and then I was like, okay, I specialized in ink. I tried to make the most epic ink punk ever, and I rolled the highest number that I could roll, and the whole tank was full of ink. It was quite fun. So
yeah, it sounds fun.
Mm. But yeah,
Go ahead.
other than that, other than the interview, the first 2 weeks, I was just like, okay, let's just. I had the motivation low, I guess. Didn't do that much with Ishanekon World Shapers.
I understand that. Sometimes it gets really hard, especially when you're like, well, it's supposed to be a break. Like, I definitely get that.
And you, EternalGM, what did you do at the start?
Well, I kind of had that similar kind of low like input towards creativity. So I dived into one of the old games that had originally kind of built some of that creativity and inspiration for world building. So I've been running through Final Fantasy VII again.
Nice.
And having a blast.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't touched Final Fantasy in a while, specifically on the older ones. But that is, I can actually see a ironic connection between you going back to your Final Fantasy, because during this break, one of the things I did do, and I actually was thinking about it, but I was like, was I was going back, and I've been watching very old sitcoms that I used to watch as a child, and just like having that nostalgia, which has been a blast. So
yeah, I focus so hard on all the creativity for like the past 2 decades of my life, there are so many games
Mhm.
and movies and TV shows that are like honestly stuff I would have watched. Like I had gone through and finished over probably 2 months time the Once Upon a Time series.
Yeah.
And like that was just a cool twist on like the Disney and fairy tale section of heroes and villains.
Yeah.
And I gotta admit, I've never seen anything that would make you actually root for Hook, but that show did. Like it makes you root for characters you never think you would, and hate characters you never thought you could.
Fair enough.
So that's what a good twist on something does, and it's I don't know, to dive into classic stuff I haven't watched or seen in a while, and looking at a time where so much hadn't been done so many times, there were still some honestly fresh looking takes on some stuff. Kind of was the refresher I needed to kind of get back into the creativity of everything.
I feel that. Honestly, being able to check out those waterfalls allowed me to kind of like connect in a creative space I haven't been able to do in a while. Because I used to go out in the woods all the time because of where I lived growing up. But I don't know the woods around here, and I'm not trustworthy or trusting them because I know that there's stuff out there, even though it's not that far away. I have literally seen things that I'm like, I'm a big dude. I can't run away from those things anymore.
The thing that you're not specifying what it is, it sounds like I've seen things, man. Like there's some cosmic horror entities hiding out in your forest.
Wait, you don't? Actually, I do actually have a joke about that because one of the things I like to joke about Terre Haute, which is the big city that I lived near growing up. I didn't live in Terre Haute until like middle or high school, really. But I was on the outskirts and whatnot. But Terre Haute, in and of itself, I love to joke that there was an eldritch like god of transportation because which seems really weird. Like, what would that really imply? Well, you're either going through it or you never leave. There is no in between. Literally, it was a common joke because in Terre Haute, there's a bunch of train tracks, blah, blah, blah. It's one of those sort of Midwest towns. And we spent 2 hours at 5 different railroads trying to get through town one day. And we was just blaming it on this eldritch god. Like, really? Like, as soon as one train cleared, we started going to the other, and then like we're like, oh, it's clear. Blink, and then there's a train. What? And it's not like it's the same like train or anything because these are 2 different tracks. But yeah, it was. It is a very funny thing. So I do believe at least in the Terre Haute region, there is something there that just likes to mess with people and control the flow of traffic.
That could be an interesting, like, overarching problem in a setting.
Oh, well, obviously, so one of the types of games I love to run is modern day, and I have done that with Terre Haute specifically. With a lot of my like IRL friends, we have done games of like, okay, we're gonna do this modern day setting. We're going to set it in Terre Haute, and we're just gonna have fun. And that is a common trope that of just like that is a thing, or just that sort of like one of the things I did I don't know if you guys know the book series, or I think there's even an HBO series of the Dresden Files. For a quick thing for anyone who doesn't know of it. It's a the snippet of it is like Dresden is the only wizard you can find in Chicago's phone book. Okay? Because he himself is a wizard, but magic isn't like out there in the known because of, the rules and whatnot. But it's his everyday life. He is magic, and it's a constant thing of like that sort of it's a great book series, great humor, really fun action. I suggest to read it, though. If you do want to get like the HBO series isn't bad, it just changes some things. And there's even a tabletop role-playing system that's not half bad either for it. I believe it, if I remember right, it uses the Fate as core, but like it's not bad. Anyways, one of the things I put is I can't even think what they're called right now. Ley lines. In Dresden Files and in a lot of magical fantasy, you have the concept of ley lines. They have a magical source, and they only do blank type of magic, or they help with a blank type of magic. So you can have like a ley line of fire, and it does fiery things. When I ran the Dresden Files in the modern day, I had a ley line of transportation. The only way to leave Terre Haute was to connect to that ley line. It's just the average people didn't know they was doing that because ley lines shift and move. But yeah, sorry, I kind of went on a spiel about that, but just funny to me.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I didn't do much at the start of the break other than playing Brotato.
Yes,
I've seen you also playing it, by the way, Kyle.
Yeah, I've seen you playing it a few times as well, and I was like, because I was trying to figure out when you had started, and I think you was started not that long. I think you started in July, or was it earlier than July? Yeah,
I don't know exactly, but it was quite a fun game. I've got all the achievements, and after the last achievement, I was like, okay, I think I'm done.
Right.
Like chasing the achievements was fun, but afterwards it kind of lacked and motivation to keep on. What?
I'm still trying to finish gathering all the achievements, to beat the game with all the characters and such, because some of them are just so hard to do.
Yes, Jack, for example, right?
Right.
I hated Jack so much. He required the most tries. For context, Jack, Brotato, first of all, is an inversed bullet hell for those who don't know. And funny enough, you play like something that looks like an egg, not a potato. So I'm not sure why it's called Brotato and not egg potato or something.
I think it's supposed to look kind of like a russet, like a very smooth russet potato. But yeah, you're right. It does look more like an egg, but I think it's because the art style is very simplistic. Yeah.
But there are dozens of characters which partially really change up the game style. And one of those is Jack. Jack has the ability that there are far less enemies on the map, but all the enemies are far stronger and deal more damage, can take far more hits. And first of all, you think, oh, it's balanced out by there being less enemies, right? But the thing is, if you get hit, you get invulnerability frames. And if there are 10 weak enemies and they all swarm you, you get hit by one. And that's it. But when you play Jack, you also just get hit by one, but that one guy deals like the triple amount of damage, and it's just so easy to die as Jack.
I think
I
don't know if I actually beat Jack yet, but I think I did beat with Jack. And I think I did like a SMG penetration build where I just kept running away, and just penetrating, doing massive damage.
Yeah, I made the speed lance build.
That's
After a while,
nice.
just trying to dodge everything actively, not really looking at the enemies, just the projectiles that
Hmm.
weaving through all the things. Oh, the last few seconds of the last boss. Oh, they were just like almost there, almost there. Ah!
I think my favorite build was an engineer tree build, where there's one ability that when you break down a tree, it spawns a turret, and I had like 6 or 7 extra trees, and I'm just spawning, and these turrets are destroying the trees as well.
Mhm.
So then I'm just getting, at the start of battle, I have no turrets. At the end of the battle, I can't not move without being next to a turret.
I do like engineer builds generally, be it with mines, turrets.
Mhm.
It's a bit more passive, but it's kind of fun to let the turrets do all the work.
Any build that allows me to just stand there and win is fun for me, which sounds counterintuitive. You would be like, well, don't you want to move around? I'm like, nah, I don't like moving. I don't like playing my video games. I want my video games to play for me. That's why Final Fantasy 12 is one of my favorites, because I can program the characters to do their moves themselves. It's actually, so about
Was
that,
the gamer your favorite character then?
huh? Which
The
one?
gamer, was that your favorite character? Oh no, the soldier. Yeah, the soldier was
The
more of
soldier,
a.
yes. The soldier, where you literally get benefits for standing. You can't attack unless you're just standing there. The soldier is one of them. The only problem with soldier is just the build. Like, for me, it was a little hard to find a good build for it to, like, get it going. Engineer was kind of easy because you just spawn enough turrets and the problems take care of themselves.
My favorite one was the Lich,
Yeah.
who deals damage every time he heals himself, and he has extreme high health regeneration and life steal.
What was it? I want to say the masochist or something, where literally you do damage every time you take a hit. You
The
cause it.
masochist.
Yeah. Or isn't that the masochist, or is that something else?
I think it was the masochist.
Yeah. It's really stupid because, like, it wants you to run into the enemies to cause an explosion to do damage. But I mean, if you do that too much, you die. You have to have really good recovery.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
man.
there was also the Lich kind of also forced you to do that because
Yeah.
the damage wasn't triggered if you already were at max health. So items that made you start with less of your maximum health were actually really good.
Or
Every time
or items that made you lose health over time.
Oh yeah, that yes. Oh, that was a sweet combo. The Lich was also the only character I ever managed to beat the max difficulty with.
Makes sense. I feel like we
One
could talk
other
about.
character.
Go ahead.
What?
Go ahead. Say it.
One other character I like was Lucky. I generally like builds where you kind of just randomly deal damage by doing stuff.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, we're kind of diverging. I mean, I guess it was the theme of this talk is what did we do during the break?
No,
and
it's totally on
Potato.
theme. It's totally on theme, and I could talk more about Potato, like what my favorite items are, like I think it's the baby or something.
Baby
The
with
bearded baby,
bearded baby.
Where like every time an enemy dies, a projectile is spawned and hits another enemy. And so if you get your damage with that high enough, you could have a constant thing of one enemy dies, then another enemy dies, then another enemy dies, and it keeps going. But yeah, we could there are so many other things we can talk about.
Yeah, I think the EternalGM can't really talk with us. It's just what kind of game were they playing? Bearded baby.
Yeah. Wow, this sounds like a really weird Flash game. And I mean, I think Potato started as a really weird Flash game.
It looks like a really weird Flash game, to be honest. But it's a fun one.
Yeah,
and I'm kind of a fan of reverse bullet hells. Also, I loved Vampire Survivor, for example. Played way too much of that one.
I have yet to actually dig too deep into it. I know that there's a lot of stuff to do. It's just I got it. I started playing it. I got like through a couple of the levels, and I just got distracted with something else and haven't picked it back up. And that's actually what happened with Rotato, because if you notice on my Steam, I've had it for a very long time.
How
But
old is even Potato? I just suddenly saw it on the Steam page. Was like, what is this? And reverse bullet hells. I like those. Let's give it a shot.
I'm not gonna look on Steam right now. I know it's been out, or yeah, no, I don't want to look on Steam because
I can take a look if you want. You're probably because you have all the setup and you don't want to break anything of the.
I'm curious.
Okay, I'm opening Steam and it's like updating Steam. Oh, come on.
I'm opening up the store page now. I do have two screens now. It's just I'm so used to when I only had the one screen to not be able to do anything else while we're streaming. So technically the 1.0 release was this year. It was June 23.
That's probably what it got advertised.
EA was a year ago. So it's I guess it's not been that long ago, but it just feels like a long time ago. Huh.
I'm just seeing reviews overwhelmingly positive.
Right. Well, I mean, it's technically a fun game. Like, or technically a fun game. What am I? Wow, that feels rude. That's the sort of advice that I say when I'm playing a playtest. No, it's technically fun now. It's a good game. It is a good game. Like, I think the only complaint I have is just I'm not a big fan of the difficulty curves of the game. And I think that makes very little sense. So I like when I like roguelikes and roguelites, which Brotato is technically trying to be one, right? Like that's the entire flow of it.
Technically.
Yeah.
God,
I believe it actually has that tag in Steam is a roguelike. I like a lot of progression outside of the game, like unlockable progression for the meta of the game, not just progression within one run. Where Brotato, the only real progression you have for the outside is very few things you can unlock. Mostly it's new characters, and it's like I would rather.
Well, you can unlock a ton of new items.
It's true. It's true.
Great.
Yeah, it's a lot of yeah, and that's it's interesting, but like that's my one complaint. But it's not a bad complaint because I still have fun with those games.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not something that I'm going to be hunting a lot, but it is a sort of thing that of which I would play a good bit, obviously, because I played a good bit of. But we'll move away from Brotato. We can go into something Eternal can talk about.
I just seen I played 39 hours of it. I thought I was like at 20 hours.
I mean, that's not that bit different. That's fine.
Yeah, but I mean, for such a small game, it's quite a lot. Well, yeah, let's change the subject. Like, what is the third time we try to change the subject and we fail?
Okay, so one last comment. Just because you brought up how many hours you've played on it, I want to just share how many hours I played on it, which I think is funny. Just how few of a difference it is. I've played for 41 hours.
I guess I was more efficient because I've got all the achievements.
Right. Well, this is something I was talking about yesterday, actually. Is that I am actually bad at video games. I accept that I'm bad at video games. And so the fact that I've gotten 65 out of 83 achievements in that game makes me feel that I did good in 40 hours. Like,
And the thing is, I'm usually never go for completion because it's way too hard and way too much time. But the
Same.
achievements in Potato aren't that hard.
No,
And-
it's like do enough damage, collect enough money, and then beat game with every character. That's roughly what it is, and on every difficulty. It's like, yeah, that's
Well, there are some very specific things, like survive a wave with 1 HP.
that's true. There are some, but those unlock new characters
Mhm.
to be able to then get those achievements. Though I think
Okay, changing topic. Like, sorry, we have to do a hard
Okay.
cut.
Hard. Stop. No more.
Okay. Eternal, you say something. What did you do?
Eternal. Go ahead. Tell us something. Anything cool? Any video game? Well, you said Final Fantasy VII was something you was playing.
Final Fantasy VII and Borderlands 2 to have something to switch back and forth between.
Yeah.
Though at the point where I'm at, I should have stuck with Borderlands 2 because, like, if you at all get away from the quick twitch style and now you're going, okay, I'm strategizing every single move because I have the time to. It's a little, yeah, I'm dying pretty easy. I'm gonna have to go to earlier areas to get used to it again. It's like 3/4 of the way through the second playthrough, stuff stops playing around.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I never played Final Fantasy VII.
I don't look at you any less. I look at you confused, but like I accept it.
If you like turn-based role-playing games and you like the kind of magic punk and like diesel punk kind of settings mixed, I mean it's that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen a lot about the lore and videos, for example, also from Team Forster, their parody series. I think it was just called Final Fantasy VII Abridged, which was quite funny.
I didn't know they did an abridged of that. That's hilarious.
It is hilarious.
When I get it all achievements but beat the game one, I get it by beating the game, and then I'm watching the Advent Children movie. Because, like, I noticed while my friend was playing the remakes that the writers always talked about adding in so many parts of it that they just couldn't with the limitations on the PS1. So if you watch Advent Children and you've watched some of the cinematics from the remakes, you notice, wait, that swirling black stuff and all that, that's in both. So I'm actually rewatching it to see what I can learn before I play the remakes.
Okay, cool. Actually, that's kind of funny that they had even more, and I think that also kind of to like bring this back into some design space talks and whatnot. Even though that's obviously we're not really here for that, but my brain can never shut up about design talk. But that in and of itself. That game and with that knowledge shows the problem that is scope creep. Of when you start out
what?
Scope creep.
Scope creep, okay.
Scope creep, yes. It's a very common design problem of I'm starting to make X game. It's gonna be super simple, super awesome, short game, gonna be awesome. Start developing. Okay, I'm gonna add in this feature. Okay, I'm gonna add in this feature. Okay, I'm going to add in this feature. And you keep adding new features, be them like new mechanics or complete new feats or whatever. You just keep on adding more and more and more and more and more. Oh, there went the deadline. Oh, well, I'm going to keep on adding more. And kind of like the game becomes something that it wasn't supposed to be through scope creep. And I say that because playing Final Fantasy VII, in Eternal, you could probably speak about how much content is in the original Final Fantasy VII, because there's 2 discs.
Technically 3.
3 discs, right?
As basically the final encounter area, and everywhere has new dialogue. Some have new items. Some things can now be actually unlocked and done. Like,
and you have to like go back into areas and stuff, and you have to like switch the discs as well when you do that.
No, it does a full overlay. Because
don't remember. It's been years.
But they almost did it like time based. So whenever you finish the first disc, some major things have happened, and the world is able to kind of have responded to it. There are things that if you don't complete after and before a certain point, it's just gone. You do not have the option to get it.
Right.
Which is actually the hardest thing about getting every single materia. Just to be able to master it is, I think there's 15 of them that if you mess one thing up, you lose that one.
Yeah, the Abridged series had a joke about that, about an area where they did not go in the Abridged series, and they were, let's just hope that some heroes come to save us.
That's funny. That's funny. But yeah, no, scope creep is a problem in development. It will happen naturally as time goes on, and that's why a lot of common designer talk is to write down your goals for the game and keep that constant, right? And keep looking at that. Keep your core clean. You can add new stuff, but if it doesn't mesh well with your actual design goals, do you actually need it, right?
You know what I find fun? You talk about scope creep and continuously adding stuff that weren't originally decided to do. But with Ishanekon World Shapers, kind of the goal is to add everything.
Yeah.
So it's kind of bit in scope creep.
Not so. I kind of miss. So when I say scope creep, I'm not just talking about like adding new content, because that's what you're doing, right? You've actually avoided scope creep naturally, because we've even brought up some things about that, about like maybe this is a way of doing things differently for it, and you're like, well, I don't actually think that would work, and then like that's a good healthy way of keeping to your thing. That's what it's about, is knowing your design goals and keeping to those goals. You can add in new content, especially in the sense of like an ever updating game, and that's kind of what your design philosophy is built around. You can go online, get the rules, and they're going to be all there. Like the things that you're adding, the new not classes,
sub-archetypes.
Archetypes, yeah. The new sub-archetypes, the new creatures, all of that is additional content to make things more unique when you're playing it. But it's not like you're adding in new systems every time, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and also it was more of a joke, which I just said, because you're right. I specifically focus to not add more core systems. Whenever I think, oh, this mechanic would be awesome, but I want to keep the core simple, I just create a talent or a trait which allows you to add that mechanic to your character. But I purposely avoided doing it as a general rule. And I've built in filter mechanics to help players to not get overwhelmed with all the options, right? The complexity filter, the beginner filter. I now added a core filter for the experienced tabletop RPG players. It's good to start with the core filter, because the rest is just so much and stuff that you really don't need with normal character builds.
Yeah.
The ability Swallow, for example, which allows you to swallow a smaller creature and slowly digest it. Most player characters don't need such an ability. But it's great for some creature design. What?
Nothing.
We're not talking about that. It's it's the kind of stuff you do as a slime, or maybe as a giant toad swallowing enemies, or maybe in the terrace,
or
right?
a giantess woman. Wait.
I may have used it with hill giants, but
Oh no! Actually,
not
that
in that way, okay? Hill giants are known for eating basically everything that moves and doesn't move. It fits.
if it fits, I sit. Wait. Yeah.
Anyway, some abilities that are more meant for creatures or for extremely niche stuff that I want the players to be able to do if they really want to, but that don't really make sense for 99 of all player characters.
Yeah.
And those do not get a core tag. And
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and I think I should like stress like technically scope creep isn't a bad thing until it is, and I think that like it's a very bad thing to say, especially to like new designers. But like, of course, you can always add in more stuff, especially if you're at the beginning. You don't need to know what your game is until you're close to release. And that's probably a bad thing to completely say, but it's kind of the truth. You could spend a couple years on a game, be it a video game, tabletop, or whatever, and then like have a playtest session and go, holy crap, what I made is trash, or it's really good, but I think I need to adjust things. And that's perfectly fine. Scope creep is kind of just it's the beast that grows, right? If you don't keep your scope clean, you'll have problems getting to release, right? And if your game is doing too much without actually focusing on any sort of core values, then it's not going to feel cohesive, right? It's not going to do what you want it to do. And that's the big problem with it. But
it's also like these Kickstarter project that promise to have the game that has everything.
Right.
And it just doesn't work. And even if you're not a beginner, classic example, Cyberpunk, the game, it had too much ambition. It wanted to add too many mechanics, and guess what? They couldn't finish it in time.
I mean, I also blame market. So a lot of video game projects, I'll always blame marketing / the upper management because they'll set unrealistic time goals. It's like, yeah, we want to do this in this game. It's like, okay, cool. You will have a year, and it's like, what? Well, yeah, you already got pretty much everything, don't you? You got a person, they walk around, they could shoot. That's everything you need. We wanted to add in some better AI, some more unique features to make things more smooth for players. Yeah, if you get it done in a year, you're gonna tell people done in a year.
What about playtesting?
Right.
Yeah, I do feel also the playtesting pain because every time I expand the character sheet or add some new functions, there's always a bug that I don't find out immediately about, and that is annoying.
And then you have to fix the bug on a stream.
Yeah, sometimes. But I don't always find them on stream. Sometimes I find them outside of streams.
Yeah.
And suddenly wondering why the mutated raptor has an evasion of 7, which should be something like 16. And then finding out that the automated item generator that I made didn't take into account the baseline evasion cap or the baseline armor of the armor, and then just you have then an evasion cap modifier of 0 without upgrades.
Right.
Which even heavy armor has an evasion cap of 13.
Right. Okay. So, you said you played Borderlands 2. What character was you playing, Eternal?
Currently Axton. That's kind of the calm, relaxed character. I just use all the stuff that boost basic abilities. I don't even go in with the turret. The turret's just like, hey, pay attention to this, and I'm gonna come flank you.
Yeah.
But I just focus on really basic things like the health and shield increase, extra damage, movement speed, reload and weapon swap speeds. It just makes them overall better. Plus, you can have like 15 freaking grenades,
which is nice. Grenades are super powerful in that because they're all the additional powers and whatnot that they can have.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
and I love the freaking fireworks one you get from the
oh,
gearbox bonus.
yeah,
I've gotten to the point where I can throw it and it will arc right at the ground, so I can use it longer distance. Throw it
nice,
high up to go under a building.
nice. Uh, yeah, in the Borderlands series, I normally like to play any character that would have good support to be sniper. Just
Mm.
because that's the type of play I really like to play when I'm doing a third-person shooter of any sort, even if it's like especially in Borderlands. Borderlands is one of the only first-person shooters I play, um, and yeah, just because I really like the capability of going, hey, I can see that character. They're right in my load range. I'm gonna kill them. Takes them like forever to get to me, so they'll be dead by the time. Of course, what really bad about the way Borderlands is designed, as soon as you hit one enemy, at least in the first one, I don't know if it's 100% true in the second, because I haven't actually played the second one in a while, since it came out, actually. But like, as soon as you start a fight, all of the people know that you're there, so they start charging towards you, essentially.
It's more like an area that will
Right.
kind of line up around that person, and they'll start being active and looking. So if
Mhm.
you're hidden, you're good, and
Yeah.
they'll eventually time out and go back to normal.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why like my build has always been having the sniper, shotgun, assault rifle, grenade launcher, and then elemental SMGs. No
Mhm.
matter what was coming, I had something I could switch to it, or I could
Mhm.
hit you from far away, then a little closer, and then take out the shotgun or the SMG, depending on the situation.
Yeah. My build's always like uh one shotgun for if things get close range. The rest is some variation of sniper that does something, be it an elemental or if it just has a unique thing like exploding bullets.
Mm.
Make you me want to play Remnant 2 right before the Ashes.
I'm
You know, you're
sorry.
talking about all the builds with weapons and such, and I'm just thinking about all the juicy builds that I could make in Remnant 2.
I'm
I
sorry.
mean, in Remnant 1, you could. I just started with Remnant 2, but in Remnant 1, you could make so many builds: shotgun builds, sniper rifle builds, healing, summoning builds. I loved Remnant 1, and
You know,
just
actually, playing a bunch of Borderlands and the other games had me and my design partner talking about a bunch of the damage types and what we'd all already done and how we're going to look at what are we doing with elemental damage and stuff like that. Because,
Mhm.
you know, we've given axes and similar type of damage, chopping damage as compared to slicing. We've given hammers and maces, well, not hammers, hammers and mauls more crushing damage than a mace or a stick. And bullets are ballistic damage, which
Mhm.
translates to ballistic points. So we can control, hey, does this headshot kill this thing instantly? So if it gets 1 point
Mm.
of ballistic damage on the head, it's done. Uh, and then the last one was concussive,
Mhm.
because certain weapons would have do this better. But if you hit someone in full plate mail with like a katana, it's not going to do slashing damage, but it is going to actually transfer concussive force through. If you get enough concussive force through or a critical on it, you can be stunned and then knocked out.
Mhm.
So this allows the characters that have the big armor builds to not be perfectly safe until their armor's basically broken down. They can still be pummeled with people with a bunch of staffs.
Mhm. Okay. Sounds cool.
I just find it funny where you say 1 point of ballistic damage to the head and you're gone. But real
Well,
life statistics shows that there are 10% chance to survive a headshot.
yeah, it might take 5 or 6 ballistic damage to translate to 1 point there, but for someone else, like another species, it might take 2 points of ballistic damage. So a certain amount of ballistic points. So a certain amount of ballistic damage has to happen before a ballistic point is earned.
Yeah.
This way,
Okay.
you can just basically say, hey, if this bullet hits its high penetration, it has +1 ballistic point to
Mhm.
its impact on these parts.
Yeah.
So it allows a little more control with the ammunition compared to damage types and the weapons themselves.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense because the idea of just having one flintlock pistol and putting it on a dragon's head and killing it with one shot seems kind of.
You would need a certain round that actually matches up to the level of being able to pull it off, or you could be shooting all day and not actually incurring any ballistic damage. So if you're not even doing ballistic damage, you're not adding up to ballistic points. But we also have it set to where if I take a 45 and point it at a human in the head and shoot them, it's most likely they're done.
Makes sense. I mean, 90% death chance is still extremely high.
Right.
This is true.
It is true. Very true. Yeah. I think it's really interesting when talking about different damage types and systems like that, just because like there's a lot of things that one could talk about, the different types of damage or the ways of handling different damages.
I actually got a question on it for y'all because I want to hear y'all's take because we've been having the same discussion. When it says magic damage, what does that mean? Because if it's I shoot you with a fireball, it's magic damage, but you took fire damage. If it's magic damage, but it's a sword, you just took extra damage. So do you actually count magic damage as a damage type in itself, or is merely a tag to limit or allow that damage to occur?
Okay, I have an answer. If I should go first on this, Blaze, or
I also have one, but you go first.
okay. So it depends on the system, obviously, because different systems are different. That's just the way it is. If I'm running a game like the Dragon game or the Finding a Path game, I normally go with the concept of like if it's relative, the concept of magic is is it from a magic-like effect? It's a tag of magic, and the Finding Path game is better, especially the second edition, is better about tagging what that actually is, right? Like if it does magic-like effects, it will have a magic tag, right, of some sort. If it's a spell, instantly magical, right? There is no question. It has the magical tag. Its damage, even though it might be fire, will be considered magical. So that solves that. In the Dragon game, they don't do tagging. And so it is all GM fiat, but that's kind of the problem with the Dragon game is that they expect the GM to kind of do a lot of the game design for them.
Without rules out.
Right. They want the game designer to make, or want the game master to be the game designer, which is a problem.
Well, what I wanted to say is, I would say less is depending on the system, but more of the setting. What are the physical rules of that world? Because, quite frankly, I think in most worlds, does it really make such a big difference if you pick up a stone with a magic spell and hurl it at an enemy, or if you're just a strong dude who picks up a stone and throws it, right? And Ishanekon World Shapers, there isn't really the distinction of magical damage. There are the different magic types, but it doesn't matter what costs them, what power source you use. There are a few damage types that kind of only can have a supernatural power source, but that has more to do with, holy cursed spirit. Those are intangible damage types, right?
Yeah.
But it's not that it's magic, ergo it's different.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of why I brought up the system, because some systems do have, specifically in both the Dragon game and the Finding a Path game, they both have like DR, and then they might have like DR that magic can get through, like slash magic. It's just the systems themselves. It's up to the game design to tell us what that means, right? Because your point, Eternal, is completely correct in the sense that if there is no big difference between magical fire or like magical damage doesn't exist except in context. It is up to the game to define that context, right? If there is no need for that context to be created, like if you don't have DR that magic pierces through, then it doesn't matter. If you do have that, then you, as a game designer, need to write that out. In my games, I normally don't do a slash magic concept of only magic damage is going to go through. That being said, if I were going to, I would make sure that I would probably do the Finding a Path game of, yeah, no, definitely. Let's tag out what magic is so that there's no question. The players could then be like, yeah, no, this is what they mean by magic, right? All the magic attacks, all these things will be magical. That being said, I mean, again, it always just kind of, it is what it is. And
I'm not a fan of specifically using magic stuff because I think it doesn't make sense if you. Most spells do create something physical, and why should that physical stuff ignore armor?
Well, so my only argument for a creature that, you know, in theory would be a magical apparition. I say specifically a magical apparition, right? Not just a ghost, because obviously you could argue maybe, well, even then you could argue talismans, but that would still kind of fall into the magical damage resistance or whatever, however you're handling ghosts in your system. But I could see if it's a magical created specter of some sort, being able to interact with magic being of resistance or a damage reduction or something, and not having a good way of identifying it. Like, that is the sort of creature. Now, when it's like they're wearing a weird armor that does it, I mean, I guess if it's like some sort of spell, an armor that maybe has an enchantment of dispel around it, which would suck for a wizard, but if you're a counter wizard, if you're a mage slayer, that's the type of armor you need, because, I mean, if it's going to make the magic that comes towards you weaker, then yeah. But again, it does depend on the creature, it does depend on your goals, it depends on the game.
Mm-hmm. See, what we did was we kind of looked at each specific section and did kind of something interesting. Like, yeah, we wanted magic damage to be something because, like, we have the concept of a basic attack. So if anything runs out, the mage can, without anything else, just shove out pure magical energy, which would do force damage and knock back like effects. Nothing impressive, but something at base.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, there is a difference between magical fire and better yet said is magical electricity and non, because like the armor might actually be able to resist it if it's magical armor and it won't penetrate.
Yeah.
But if it's magical fire, it's still going to have a chance to like stun / paralyze you and do damage. Fire, unless you're not covered in full plate mail or something, you're going to get hit. With plate mail, your big worry is it takes you 30 minutes to take this off and they're heating it up.
Yeah.
This is a whole different problem. It's the same as freezing it. That's going to be a problem. Cold exhaustion is going to set in, and you might end up freezing in place.
Mm-hmm. Did I lose internet?
No, we can still hear you, but yeah, the stream is back on.
Okay, so everything was fine, and then it hiccuped. Okay, it happens, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm sure what you said was very profound. Yeah, I don't think I lost much. I don't know what we lost.
It was just basically the idea that armor isn't necessarily a protection from magic all the time, or isn't.
Right.
It really depends. Like acid type magic is literally just going to start eroding your armor, so your durability is dropping.
Yeah.
Freezing might freeze you literally in place in your armor because it can freeze the armor easier than you.
Fair enough.
want to be inside of the oven that is your armor if it gets burning effects on the armor.
Yeah.
Shock really doesn't care if you're in armor, and
Mhm.
certain metals or materials might amplify that. So we decided to have kind of an intermixed setup of all the positions because they seem to fit. Remember, our core system is attempting to create the basic physics upon which any reality we design a setting of can all function.
Mhm.
You said Shock doesn't care if you're armor or not, but actually a full plate armor set creates sort of a Fahrenheit cage around you.
Mhm.
At least as far as I've seen and read,
It
it kind of makes you immune to electrical attacks because the armor just immediately senses down to the ground.
I mean, if we're gonna put real world logic into it, it does depend on the metal. And even though it might take away the electricity, it's not going to get rid of the damage because that is going to heat up. And metal hot hurts.
So
Yes,
like,
but it's still a big difference from getting a lightning directly into you or just suddenly being in a really hot armor set.
this is true, but an enemy that is weak specifically to electric magic type attacks who is fire resistant would love this type of armor. And so now you have to think of a totally different way to beat this thing, even though you learned its weaknesses. The party failed on not getting away and not noticed when they were figuring the secret out. So the guy's like, oh, hell no, they know my weakness. I'm going to put on my actual battle armor, bring my weakness on, have runes that empower him because of electric attacks. So anytime you're burning them, you're healing them. Anytime you shock them, you're empowering them. So you can take any weird things, because I like bringing in physics and real situations into fantasy. We literally have a multi-crystal glittered with gold where the sun reflects into this water stream little cavern and lights up rainbow gold flecked light up on clouds that pass across. And this is in the middle of like a dragon-owned island that is our version of Barovia. So this is a very horrible, sad, and hopeless place with one of the most beautiful scenery pieces floating above it.
Yeah. No, I get you. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't normally wouldn't spend too much time on trying to think about those real world instances, but I do like to make sure we like if you're going to bring them into your game, you do have to like consider a lot of different things. And I do agree with the Faraday cage thing, but I do know that there is some things, because even the best full plate isn't full plate sometimes, right? Like the armor of full plate that you see in like what people was wearing in like a lot of night movies wasn't actually what the knights was wearing in most times. Those was more some ceremonial get-ups than actual what they was wearing, historically talking. Of course, it also depends on what part of history we're talking about. That's an entirely different
which
thing.
Region, which time,
right.
How rich that guy was that's going into battle.
But for the most part of medieval centuries, a lot of the armor was just like reused Roman armor. That's just what it was, and that's actually what I find most funny when we're talking about like historical battles. Like, yeah, but that's neither here nor there. Woo.
In my system, I just simplify it. Other than poison and psychic damage, everything reacts the same way with armor. But of course, you can upgrade your armor to have resistance against specific damage types. And then we go are in the whole rune thing.
Yeah.
But you did just give me an idea to create an upgrade which actually heals you if you get a specific damage type. I don't have something like that.
Would be a very powerful.
I'm gonna write that one down.
Write it down right now. Eat element.
I have abilities which allow you to absorb damage of a specific type and heal yourself with that, but I do not have an armor upgrade.
I need to be able to absorb slashing damage. I want to be able to cut myself and heal.
Are you okay, Kyle?
I'm gonna grab the charger for the phone so it doesn't die.
Okay.
I'll be right
Okay.
I will ignore the thing I just said. No one heard that, right? Yeah.
Are you all right, Kyle?
I'm fine. I'm fine. No, I think that concept in a tabletop sense is a funny concept of, but I get that you was probably meaning like more elemental damages or not natural damages.
The funny thing, like elemental damage is usually pretty natural. Like fire is very natural, poison is very natural.
When I say natural, I'm talking more like base weapon type damages, not what you would see from other concepts, right? Like naturally from a weapon, not natural from the world. Does that make sense?
There are actually also abilities which allow to absorb a physical damage in Ishanekon World Shapers, but those are less efficient than.
But if you can
elemental.
cut yourself, I'm kidding. That's gamey. That's
Technically,
gamey.
yes, you could use a weapon attack to cut yourself, and then as a reaction, use absorb physical damage to heal yourself. But
next character.
Frankly,
next character in Ishanekon is a blood mage. Here we go.
But it is far easier to just
heal.
Use simple heal on yourself instead of
blood magic.
Cutting yourself and using this very willpower inefficient system of absorb physical.
Got to do that blood magic from Dragon Age 2. Let's go. Or Dragon Age 1.
There's actually a lesser talent called Blood Magic that gives you powers up your DR power if you have the bleeding status effect.
Uh-oh. So this is actually a build. I'm going to have to contact Gold. Gold, help me build a blood mage. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean that could actually work. Build around that. Maybe go Drunken Master to get bonuses from having status effect. With
my blood alcohol level is too high.
What?
My blood alcohol level is too high.
The sub-archetype is called Drunken Master, but it doesn't have to be alcohol. It can be any sort of status effect, which you can then refer to whatever you
bleeding, and then you're over there being like, I heal from being cut. Yes.
This bull knows inebriated food.
Right. That's beautiful. I'm gonna slightly move us away from this damage talk, and especially getting away from this bleeding mage concept, and kind of go back into what we was originally talking about of just things we did over break. I'm going to talk about some of my achievements that I did. Like, I know we kind of already did that, but there's a couple other things that I wanted to take note of in the later half of the break that I didn't really get to go into. I did keep up.
Same here, but you go first.
I did keep up with writing, especially after my vacation. I did start going back into doing some writing of articles. I wrote a big piece, or at least big to me, and tried to spread it around as much as I could about some marketing tips for game developers. And one of the things that people need to be doing when they're starting marketing, and I did a heavy push on trying to get people to read that. Obviously, I think I've already said multiple times about the room that I'm in. I got some writing done. I got some things planned out for future months. I actually have a couple of new articles. I'm going to be doing even more marketing tips and tricks for people, writing those out.
I'm listening. Just keep on talking. Don't worry about it.
Banana. But yeah, I wrote articles. There was other things I was going to say, and now I just don't completely remember. I got a couple of lists. I started a couple of projects that I can't talk about right now. Or that I don't want to talk about right now. I have some things planned for the future. Some stream things that I'm planning and whatnot. And yeah. And that being said, for the different things that I write about, I'm going to just take a quick time to spiel right now while Blaze is gone. If people join my personal game development Discord, so not the T3N Discord, but the other Discord, I do a poll about what I'm going to write about next for my weekly, though sometimes I write more than just one article. And some of the topics I have on there is literally about, like, if you're going to market or make a website, or if you're going to, different design concepts and stuff like that. Like, it all just depends on what people vote for that week, besides the extra ones that I decide to write anyways. So yeah, I guess since Blaze isn't here, Eternal, go ahead. Is there any other achievements that you did?
Really just working through more and more stuff with the play testing.
Yeah,
we've been adding more steps to it. Like, since we've started the Curse of Strahd campaign with it, we are adding in willpower enduring checks, the sanity and empathy checks, and the entire exhaustion system. We're adding in the other half of the crits with 2 hit and damage dice rolls. Already been testing the bonuses for amount of reactions, movement speed, and initiative for marshals.
Nice.
So at this point, it's really just everything we're adding in. It keeps functioning. That's why I'm looking for setting up an actual official, at least 4 to 6 people play test where people go, okay, this is the class I'd like to play. I'm going to set that down. I'm going to get whatever it is they want and go ahead and make that next.
Yeah.
And continue going, because we're bound to be into next Saturday's battle, and within a few more sessions going to be testing magic and the magical creatures.
Okay.
When I was going, I thought you had like 10 minutes of stuff to talk about, and
well, I think the banana made me lose all of my thoughts. So
maybe I should have just disappeared and reappeared.
Right. No, I'm sorry. I mean, if you need more time, I could totally BS and just look at the camera awkwardly.
I can't. Let's just talk about the stuff that I did in the second half of the break. First of all, Ishanekon World Shapers now officially has an art piece for all 110 sub-archetypes.
Woo!
Which is kind of cool. I also added a picture with all of them at once. That was kind of cool. Technically, that wasn't my work. I mean, I guess I did write the orders and specify what exactly I wanted, but that was made by This Is Lava, a dear friend of mine, which has made most of the art. But what did I? I made a poll on X.
On Shitter.
It's Twitter. I'm really starting to think about just leaving that burning dumpster fire behind and fully focus on YouTube now. But boy. Anyway, I did a poll there.
Yeah.
About what should I do next, and a GM guide and starting adventure tied. So I was like, okay, let's do both. I made a GM guide for specific tips regarding to Ishanekon World Shapers. I did not make a general GM guide because, let's be honest, there are hundreds of better GM guides, and it specifically says in a GM guide at the start. Go look up in YouTube. There are plenty of great stuff there. But the guide that I made is about that emphasizing how important Session Zero is in Ishanekon World Shapers to really set the boundaries, what kind of characters your players can make. Then about the cinematic action, because as a GM you have to improvise the damage and the effects and how hard the skill roll for that is. And I made a chapter about that. Also creatures, where can you get creatures, how to make your own creatures and stuff, and how to handle specific min-max strategies for players. At the start I say, do not throw creatures against your players that counter the strategy every single time, because that's not cool. You need to let your players shine and their build. But if you're really having difficulties of dealing any damage to them, here's some tips how you can counter specific strategies and such stuff. And I started work on the starter adventure. I've gathered 4 play testers, and we're probably going to have to Session Zero in 5 weeks, because some of the players won't be there for 2 weeks, and then the other player won't be there for 2 other weeks. We still got room for 2 more players if anybody's interested.
Okay.
It's going to be about 5 lost islands with a legendary treasure, and the player characters have found a map to those islands and try to find the treasure. It's very exploration focused, but also with some, of course, roleplay and combat.
I'm actually going to just quickly say before I forget, if you both want to send because of the things about the things that we want people to do, if you're asking for play testers or what have you, if you have a link for them to go and maybe I don't want to say a sign up form or just a way of contacting, go ahead and just say something, and then if I'm smart and remember, I will make sure to add that when I move this chat to YouTube. I'll put it in the description so people can see those if you want.
I guess you could link to the Ishanekon World Shapers Discord group. There's where we're organizing it and where we will be playing.
Okay.
And also, in regards to that, the starting adventure will require a lot of creatures. And I've been working on that. And after I made the 2 first creatures, I noticed, okay, the usual system of making creatures for a search engine, too much work. It takes roughly an hour if you know what you're doing. And there's parts of that can't be automated. So I worked 2 days straight on coding and created 2 tools to automate the stats and skill point allocation and item generation with their upgrades. So now I managed to reduce the work to a little bit more than half an hour, and basically removed all the boring parts. And I've been cranking out creatures since then. I already added 6 new ones, got a lot more on the pipeline.
Okay.
And so that's great, especially since one thing Ishanekon World Shapers is definitely lacking is creature for the creature search engine.
I'm sorry.
I also made a guide on one of my streams specifically explained how to use that for anybody who wants to help out. I'm willing to pay people for creatures. 15 for normal 15 euros for a normal creature, 20 euros for an elite creature, and 25 euros for a boss creature. So maybe another link we could put in the YouTube video is a link to the video where of the stream where I explained that stuff.
Yeah, just send me a message or something directly so that I can remember when I'm, because I have to download this from things and whatnot. So it takes me some time to edit these streams into videos. So I might by then.
And go
And
ahead and
finally,
send the link. A lot of this time where I've gotten to the point where a lot of the creation for me is just getting stagnant. I've helped other people work on their stuff, and it helped me. So, yeah, send me the link to work on some of that.
Okay.
oh,
Cool.
nice. And one final thing, I merged all the different character sheets into one universal character sheet where you can put in the alternative rules variations for Ishanekon World Shapers, which does not only simplify the user experience, but also makes it easier for me to develop and change stuff in the character sheet. Since now I only have to modify it in one character sheet instead of 5.
And actually, on that, mention the character sheet. Ours is done, so I'm going to go get one to print it out copies and just warn you, it's compressed a little because it's meant to be the size of the Stratagem Game Master screen inserts.
Okay.
But I'm going to go get those real quick.
Okay.
They're actually
great.
And see what it looks like.
So yeah, that were all the major projects that I did in the break.
That's amazing. I know that there's other things that I have done because I did a lot of things during this break.
We've got a replacement for EternalGM there.
Oh my god, it's a god. Yeah.
So I'm just going to call you Mr. Fluffles. What's your opinion on the damage, magic damage?
Yeah.
Look at me. He's angry that I called him Mr. Fluffles. I'm pretty sure he has a cooler name.
Yeah, has to. Maybe it's probably like Midnight or something. Who knows?
I wonder if he can. He probably can hear us, right?
I have no idea how Eternal has things set up. If it's like on a earpod or something that for Eternal to hear, or if it's not.
Look at us. He's not reacting. But I mean, the cat could just actively ignore us. I have enough experience with my own cats to know that.
Here you go, buddy. He's smart enough.
Got distracted by your cat while you were gone.
Oh, it's fine. That's actually an interesting named cat. I called him Matsuba, which is the Japanese name for the Ghost Gym leader in the second Pokemon, second generation, whose name is Morty. But since he's a ghost trainer, and this cat immediately reminded me of a kitten of ours that mine that had died, it became kind of a ghost Pokemon gym leader. That name translates to Japanese. There we go. Because Morty just didn't sound like a good cat name.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I called him Mr. Fluffles because I didn't know the name, and I think your cat was pissed.
All cats are always pissed.
Damn.
Ooh, that's a big one.
So basically, coming in, let me try and do this. That is your character information section at the top. This is where each of our stats has 3 properties under it. That is our actual skills section where we have social, knowledge, and your normal field skills. That is all exhaustions, your different checks, and all of your resources, including vitality and wounds.
Nice.
That's a lot on there. This is where we handle the entire inventory. Like up here is your movement speed collection. This is quick combat reference. This has everything from your dodge and armor rating, counter attack threshold, reaction count, and your durability. That's all active effects, battle ready items, your equipment, and here's your inventory and extra stuff. And this is just a big list for all of your abilities, which work with the ability die list at the top. and your class skills and extra features. So if you need to remember how anything works, it's all right there. All of your equipment and your combat stuff's right there. And pretty much everything you need outside of combat is all on this.
Neat.
Nice.
One of the things I would suggest, though, is adjusting some of that contrast. Because while I understand you don't want to have like white on black on paper, because that's actually really bad for some neurodivergent eyes. That gray on black, especially that specific gray, is a very dark gray and can also cause eye strain.
A printer issue. It originally was a lot brighter, more of a light blue gray.
Well, and that's something to take note of then for when people print it. If they have that printer, that might be a problem. I would still consider just you sometimes be able to check the black and white when you click on to print and go to black and white. It will show how it will look, how the computer is going to try and convert that into a black and white. But it's just that's just my expertise, right? From just a quick
100% agree. More or less, this is for not only having figured that out, but many other testing things to realize during play testing. And once we actually get it to the right size, that's when we're going to sit there and really try and make it look the best that it can, or just general good look.
Yeah.
But it took several times of trying to get the machine to do the right thing, and you can still, if you look hard enough, notice little dots where instead of making a line, it compressed the ink to right there. And I'm like, yeah, this is why art is not my thing.
I mean, it's all good. You like, I didn't want to like sound super negative or anything. I just wanted to help you out with the one thing I noticed, right? Because I mean, obviously, I can't really tell much with just quick glances, but that is one thing for accessibility.
This was the closest one to what it was meant to look like, but it's still
yeah, and that dark gray on black on the top is really rough.
Yeah. That program Inkscape or whatever it is just auto made this darker. And unless we wanted to kind of shift all this down, make a new section, then shift it all back up, redoing the whole page effectively, we just had to kind of accept that color. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Luckily, it's pure playtest right now.
Right. And I mean, part of the playtest, especially in paper products, is to figure out the layout, right? That's most efficient for print products. Of course, Blaze over here is being like, well, all my stuff is digital. And
I do have a PDF version of the character sheet that can be printed out.
Nice. I actually did not know that was the case. Huh. Good on you. I'm proud of you.
But yeah, the intended experience is to do it digitally. But I know there's some people who want to print everything out, and for those people, I have something.
I mean, it's not even just that. Sometimes they don't have access to a good internet thing when they're doing a game in physical meat space.
The thing is, the character sheet on the website is built in a way that once it's loaded in initially, it completely works offline.
Sure.
You can just cut off the internet, and if you loaded it in, it works.
I mean, I would still say you're kind of hoping that the device of which they're using doesn't lose that at times, because I know, like, well, my laptop, if I shut it and open up things, it likes to clear the cache, and sometimes that means that I lose my progress unless I'm connected to the internet. But I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm thinking about building an offline application, but it's on the list.
Right. I think the easiest for you, honestly, there is a method of specifically for making a smartphone or tablet application. You can actually literally, it's just making a browser, and then you just have those pages downloaded, and those are the only pages that the browser has access to, essentially.
Yeah, but for those, why not just use character sheets? They already work on your cell phone on any browser or almost any browser.
So the thing was, what is literally for if they don't have access to the internet and they want it, like say that we're talking about an app on a phone, right? And they are
you mean it already loaded it in?
right. It is the site is essentially saved on the phone, and then the special browser opens that site. Like that's the entire process of that app. That's how that app is built. They actually use that for a lot of sites that they want to have an app. There, literally, most of those like sites turned into apps are that concept of they'll just take that site, put it into the app, and the app is just a glorified web browser. It in and of itself sometimes has some weird cases, but yeah. I know that that's how they handle some of those things, and mostly because that is my day job, right? Is web stuff. But we're about time where we would end it. There is a couple of things I could have brought up. Actually, that wasn't really achievements, but it was things that I kind of wanted to talk to. So I'm only going to like glance over a couple of things like that happened in the last few days. And that is Gen Con is literally like still technically going on. And I actually went and seen people yesterday. Even though I wasn't able to get a badges here because it was just too expensive. Gen Con is, it's $100 and something for the 4-day badge. But just also needing to have a hotel and things like that, even though that's a drive for me, is just rough. So I didn't actually get to go, but I did go and meet people from like Twitter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So like I met the Clash of Crits crew, I met Squidzy, and yeah, a few others. That was just kind of fun to be able to do that. And then also, the Baldur's Gate 3 finally did their release of the game, and I've been playing that a little bit. So I tried to do a stream of it with my new setup, but because it's so hot in this room, I can't play it for very long on my laptop. And it's just because of heat. Literally, it's my internal temperature is getting too hot on the machine.
I do like Divinity Original Sin and such, but after all what Hasbro did, I really reluctant to even give them a cent.
I had already bought this game. I've already bought the Baldur's Gate 3 early access as soon as it was a thing, and I did it because I support Larian, not Wizards. This is a game that Larian, the studio, wanted to make since before they was a studio. The reason they made Divinity Original Sin is because they wanted to make a Dungeons and Dragons game like that, but Wizards was like, you guys are nobodies. We have no faith that you can actually make the product that we want. So it was like, okay, we'll go make our own stuff and do our own thing. And so they did, and people liked it. And then Wizards came to them and was like, okay, you get to have a shot, make us Baldur's Gate 3. So I did it to support them, not Wizards.
I'm not saying that you're a bad person for playing it. I'm just saying why I'm hesitant of buying it, even though it seems to be an awesome game.
Right, I get it. Fuck Wizards. I'll say that on stream. I'll say it at their front door. Fuck them. But my whole thing has always been about like I want to support people who's following their dreams, and that is what the Larian studio did. And
EternalGM, you want to say something?
Oh, I was saying that it like everyone was so happy about Baldur's Gate 3 coming out, and I'm like, yeah, but they just completely destroyed the Dark Alliance series. That there was a first and a second one, and I've been waiting 20 years. And they released Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, and it has nothing to do with the original games. And I'm like,
I mean, we're talking about Wizards. They don't give a
yeah.
shit. They do not give a shit. Again,
Yeah.
if Baldur's Gate 3 wasn't going to be made by Larian, I would not have touched it. It is literally because of their story. Because I know them as I don't know them as developers, but I know of their where they came from. I guess I know their story. That's what I said.
And I'm probably still going to wait until the price goes down.
That's fine.
I'm more of I'll buy a game once on sale, or to be honest, usually more once it's at least 5 years old.
Hell, I'm just the one thing that I'm fucking loving is the fact that they have had the audacity and the balls to essentially talk to Wizards and be like, yeah, no, we're not going to do microtransactions in this game.
Nice.
They have literally came out to the public as there's going to be no microtransactions for this game. None at all. Never. And also for me, because I had got the game on the early access, because I got the game early access, I'm getting the as if I pre-ordered the game, even though I technically didn't, right? I'm getting all of the benefits from that, which they could have, because there's been companies who have done that, of you supported the EAA, but then because you didn't get the pre-order, you didn't get any of that. But they was like, nah, you're essentially got a pre-order with actually being able to help us develop the game. Here you go, take it.
It's only extremely rarely that I trust a company enough to pre-order something.
Right. Well,
on software, for example.
Yeah.
Or
I don't know if I would pre-order from Software, but I'm not as big of a fan of From Software as you are, so I guess that makes sense.
I love Souls-like, right?
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
Remnant 2, which I'm playing, which is also Souls-like.
Right.
Which I'm probably going to play as soon as we're done with the stream.
I think my roommate...
Okay, first I'm going to cook dinner, then I'm going to play it while eating my dinner.
I think me and my roommate is actually going to try and do a group party of Baldur's Gate 3 and get that started, because you can have multiple players in it.
It's pretty cool.
Honestly, there's a lot of features that they added in that game that I feel should have been added to the genre for a long time. The fact of being able to have multiple custom characters and multiplayer for that style of game is really fun and really nice. I know that you can do that in Divinity 2 and 1. You can have multiple players in the same world. But this, of course, takes it a little step further, because I don't know if you can in Divinity 2. You probably do 4 players in Divinity 2, to be honest. But you can do 4 players in Baldur's Gate 3. So you can have your full party be all players. So you can actually have a thing. And then, of course, there's a bunch of mod support already. Because Larian is like, yeah, no, if you guys want mods, cool, that's fine. We're not going to make it hard on you guys. Do it. Have mods.
And what I find funny about Divinity 2 Original Sin is that they specifically added fake healing potions crafting recipes, which are actually poison, which there's no reason to do that in single player. They're only there in multiplayer to trick your fellow players into drinking poison.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I love it. Yeah, I honestly...
But that's not going to give me any trust issues. No, totally not.
I would never do that to another player. I would never hand the fake healing potions.
But
yeah,
I don't trust you.
What would I do? What would I do? I'm perfectly fine. No. But yeah, no. That's been something that I've had some fun. And yeah. Is there anything else you guys want to add about your adventures this summer break?
Not really.
Okay. Blaze, you're happy.
Am I? I mean, I could tell about all the bugs. I mean, I did already mention the one with the item generator, which was kind of annoying.
All those bugs squashing.
I still have to correct the 6 creatures that I uploaded because they are still got the error. Yeah, Techno?
But no, I'm pointing at on my background. It says bug hunt.
A bug hunt. Yeah.
I actually noticed it during this stream that it said bug hunt. Because I'm not on my tiny screen, I can actually read my the actual definition of this.
I would love to have to have a custom background in Discord. You've got to pay the money, right?
Oh well, this one is not custom. It's
I know it's not custom.
Yeah,
but
to I think to have a custom one, you do have to be a what is it, Nitro or something?
Yeah.
Is there a subscription? Which I mean, that's fair, but like it's rough.
Yeah. I would love to have the Ishanekon World Shapers official main page image as my background for these streams.
That'd be really rad for you, my dude. I don't fully know what we'll talk about next time.
The dice and probability systems
is
for
what I think,
tabletop RPGs.
Yeah, I think that's what we was discussing as
a
thing. I'm checking. Well, no one's really on that I wouldn't want to pass things off to, but go ahead and start our wind down. So, I have no words which I want to say. Wow, my brain died in that instance.
Don't worry, Zombie Kyle. We can take it from here.
Okay, I have all of my faith in you guys. Every little bit.
I mean, if we're winding down, Eternal, is there anything else you want to say before we stop the stream?
Not really. Besides, I'm excited to see where the play testing next week's gonna go. But I'll be able to tell you all about that next Sunday.
Sure. Then I would say if none of us have anything more of substance to add, thank you everybody who joined us or who is going to watch either on Twitch or on YouTube later. So thank you everybody. See you on the next stream. Bye.
Bye.
See you later.